Around for 20 years. It was one of the first albums to use multi-track recording procedures. They used 4 tracks to make that album. Today you can use 100 tracks to make an album. It's because of that that bands no longer need to know how to play together, how to listen to each other. An engineer can simply boost or lower the volume of a single track to make it sit right in the mix. It's because of this lack of ensemble playing that makes a lot of people think that rock and roll has lost its edge. Well, 20 years later, the Cult come along with a new album called Electric. That's putting the edge back in rock and roll and doing it in a very familiar way.
You know, these artificially big drum sounds and all this modern technology to make things sound huge. Really, it's a bit of a fake. It really isn't that good. If you turn a lot of modern records up really loud with all that gunge on them, what you get out your speakers is a load of hiss and noise because it's all effects. It's all tricking your ears. All they do is put like delays on things. It makes it sound 3 times bigger than it ever was in the first place. It's trickery, and our stuff, we just took all that away. And if you turn our record up loud, the Electric album, you just blow speakers because it's all in the vinyl. Lots of people make records nowadays, and this is like technical time, but people make records to a click track. They actually record to a mathematical pulse so that they can artificially put things in time. And people start doing that with rock records now. Rock music's about a groove and a feel and soul and the kind of energy you put into it. It isn't about whether you play in time properly. It never was. The classic rock records that have endured, that people still play at their little local discos and party nights, they're never made like that. It was the song that mattered and the overall emotion and the groove, which is the kind of thing we went for. It wasn't like, oh please, I wish I was alive in 1971 making records. We were quite happy, aren't we? Smile, we're happy.
Do you think that rock music is going to be the popular music in 20 years?
Blues-based music will always endure. It's the natural way. It's just like, there's natural ways of playing music. And the blues, for a lot of, young people, was a very, I'm not talking about like the old blues, I'm talking about the whole thing, the melodies, the hooks, the whole thing. And
Keith Richards going to be alive, isn't he? In 20 years, isn't he?
Keith
will still be alive. So if Keith Richards is alive, there's hope for us all.
Definitely.
Was this the sound that it sounds like this is maybe kind of the sound that you always wanted to have all along, and that maybe by this album you just felt sort of confident enough to do it?
It takes a while to discover. That's it. That's the nail on the head.
We had to it was just like get to a situation where we could actually do this record and not commit like, suicide. You know what I mean? It's really, in terms of a band, we had to achieve some success before we could actually allow ourselves a little bit of leeway to do what totally pleased us.
Yeah. It's like peer pressure in England when we're saying, like, people say who are your influences, and maybe grudgingly going like, well, I like Janis Joplin, but we're going like, well, I like Paul Kossoff, and it's kind of like, people went, yuck. You know what I mean? And then after a while we got confidence, said, well, why are you saying yuck? Have you ever listened to that kind of music? And they kind of went, well, not really. And you say, well, have a listen to it. And then they're coming back and going, it's good, And they say, well, that's why we're influenced with what we've been brought up with, And, it's not like we're aspiring to be like them. We're just inspired by their character and energy, and the music and the whole vibe, the whole thing.